Hi, I'm Danielle Mills, and I am the Vice President of the Costa Mesa Republican Assembly. We are here today at our kickoff event featuring Rick Grenell, and we are going to go inside and get some interviews done and talk to some people and see how they're feeling about things in California and Orange County. Let's go. What is your thought on the recall election with Gavin Newsom? What are your hopes for that?
I cannot tell you my hopes. My hope is that he is out as soon as possible. What he's done to this state is deplorable, and the more we watch his actions on a day-by-day basis, the more we see it's really just a power trip. And these politicians get into office and they think that they're no longer one of us and they can just make the rules for us. It's terrible. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on who you would like to see replace him, if given a choice?
You know, there are some interesting candidates entering the run. I heard Caitlyn Jenner had decided to enter yesterday, and I am still deciding, but that looks like an interesting choice for sure.
What do you think about the current state of the country and California with how many freedoms we've lost in the last year?
California is a complete disaster. I was raised under the Reagan administration when I was a child, and those were, I believe, our state's best days. And we've got to find a way to get back to that. And I think that Rick Grenell might be our guy.
So you have a hope that he is going to put his hat in for the governor race if the recall goes to election, which sounds like it will?
Well, I don't know what he plans to do. I don't know if it's in his best interest to run for in the recall. But either way, I hope if he ever threw his name in the hat, his name in the ring, I'd be behind him 100%.
What are your thoughts on the election and the possibility of fraud and the Arizona audit that's going on right now?
Well, I am 100% behind it being a fraud. I mean, I was a little like everybody skeptical, like, am I crazy? Or is it was really fraud? And I believe there's fraud, and I believe we're going to get to the bottom of it, but what I'm concerned about, what's going to happen. So we all find out, okay, they're guilty. You know, all those people, all the voting machines, China was involved, and Italy. So we find out they're guilty, and they get a hold of these people that were, there's only a handful of people that were manipulating all of the information. What's going to happen with them, and what's going to happen with Trump? Do they kick Biden out until Trump come aboard? I don't know, and I talk to a lot of people, and they say the same thing. What's going to happen?
This upcoming cycle, I was in the race for California governor, and now I'm seeing that there are a lot of people who are entering the race for California governor. There's one big problem, though. A lot of statewide races, such as lieutenant governor, governor, and so on, Senate, many of these races have been won by Democrats in a 65-35 split. So right now we have about 24 people who are all clamoring over 35% of California's voter base. And that is problematic, because while I went through the trouble of helping out with a recall effort, we now have a situation where we very well may have this recall effort backfire on us if we aren't strategic. All it takes for Democrats to win is to just stick one Democrat into the race, and they have 65% of California's voter base at their disposal, because Gavin Newsom made sure that every voter in California is going to receive a mail-in ballot for this recall election. So we have a lot of work to do here in California with getting people out to vote. And we need to make sure that we're strategic about who's going to be the right person for California. Some people believe that the right person for California is a super conservative. Another group of people think that the right person for California is someone who can reach across the aisle. There are some people who are pushing for Rick Grenell to enter the race for California governor. That's something exciting, wouldn't it be? So it's great to be here and see what Rick Grenell has to say, and we'll see how California can move forward.
What do you think the outlook is here for Orange County going forward to the next election?
I think we're primed to have a comeback. I think it's better than Orange County. I think the whole state is going to have a comeback. I think we're going to take back our state. We're going to win for a new governor, and we're going to win for Republicans across the state. And so it's just the beginning, and I'm working really hard to make sure that happens.
Awesome. We're right behind you. Thanks. How do you feel about the woke culture in sports right now? Is that a deterrent for you?
It's a huge turnoff. I stopped watching the NBA. I stopped watching the NFL. I mean, I'm still a hockey fan, but it's not a good look for the country. It's dividing people. All we want to do is be entertained. Simple.
What is your hope for California going forward into the next election?
Well, my hope for California going forward is that, number one, we get rid of Gruesome Newsom. Okay, that's number one. Okay, and number two is electing a conservative Republican to replace him in the governor's office.
What are your thoughts and feelings on a lot of the Asian hate crimes that are happening right now?
Well, first of all, I think it's very unfortunate that Asians is being discriminated in a way or being hated onto for things that is not really, how should I say, they are not responsible for. It's just because they look Asian, and then they are being hated on. And I think it's also very unfortunate that politicians use us, Asian, as a narrative for their agenda. Look at what happened in New York, right? The guy, he just kicked the lady. She's Filipino, and she's 65 years old, something like this. Just for no rhyme and reason, they just, kick her. And then there's also the older guy in Oakland. He got beaten up because he's Asian. So we think we have to stop all this, talking about you're white, you're Hispanic, you're Asian, you are from anywhere, black, brown. No, we have to stop all this because we are living in America, the United States of America. If America is so racist, why there are thousands and thousands of people keep pouring across the border?
With all the issues going on right now, especially in California and in the country, what is one issue that keeps you up at night?
I know a lot of people are angry about the election being stolen. People are angry and they want action. They want to see voter ID, voter integrity. They want the voter rolls cleaned up. I want to see all of that, and I want to see people get involved. I want to see people vote based on their values and not just because there's a D or an R in front of the candidate's name. So.
This is Trent Butler. He is the volunteer executive director for the OC Gun Owners PAC.
Correct.
And Trent, tell me a little bit about the bill that Dave Min is pushing through or trying to push through.
So it's a state Senate bill, SB 264, which is banning firearm sales, and it's going to be extended to ammunition and accessory sales as well, banning firearm sales on any state or county-owned property. So it's a bill specifically targeting gun shows to restrict, the gun shows. They primarily draw attention because there's dealers there selling guns and ammunition. And the state senator, among other politicians in California, are using the argument that there's a gun show loophole, that if people buy guns at a gun show, somehow they're not subject to a background check or subject to a transfer waiting period, anything like that. And that's not the case. In California, any transfer between two parties that are not immediately related, like father to son, has to go through a federal firearms licensee, which mandates the background check, the 10-day waiting period, and everything else. So it's a bill that is oppressive, that's specifically targeted at gun shows intentionally, and it's predicated on something that just frankly isn't true.
And I'm just getting also tired of a lot of Republicans that are have no backbone. You know, and I've been hearing, I thought it was just me, but there's a few out there that really are good patriots that are just, you know, behind it. But I did hear Trump speak last week. I don't know where he was speaking, but he did say, he goes, they'll never be able to cheat again when he's finished. So, you know, it's always a surprise what he's going to come up with. That's why we elected him, because he's one of us.
Thanks so much, Scott.
So it's really interesting that you ask where I live. I just told somebody this a couple minutes ago that my registered address is in Hollywood, like just north of Hancock Park. But I live 6 miles away from that address because I kept getting death threats, sometimes by the hour.
My Lord.
Imagine getting weekly death threats. Imagine getting daily death threats. Now imagine getting hourly death threats from the loving, tolerant, peaceful, inclusive left. So, yeah, people started taking pictures of license plate when I would go doing rallies, and they're like, I'm gonna find you. I'm like, no, you're not, because I campaign with a rental car. Yeah, there are a couple things you have to do when you're a Republican in California. People are out to get you. Like, in the last race that I did, I went to a Trump rally in Tahunga, California. And across the street, there was a counter-protest by BLM Marxists. So naturally, being a candidate, I had to go across the street and go engage with them because these are also potential voters. And when I crossed the street, these people came up to me and was like, you better get the F out of here, man, and I'm about to kick the out of you. I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm a black guy. You're a black guy. You, a black guy, are threatening to beat up me, a black guy, at a Black Lives Matter rally. Please help me make that make sense. The left is very loving here in California, aren't they?
They sure are. They can't make it make sense, though, can they?
They cannot, because here they are going, oh my gosh, we need to uplift, just for example, oh my gosh, we need to uplift the black community. Let us vote for the person who spent the past half a century destroying our lives and destroying our livelihoods and destroying our ability to pass on wealth to our future generations, destroyed our cities, destroyed our education, destroyed our economy. Let's vote them into office. Does that make sense?